E.Surratt, the first woman murdered by the federal government. Was she guilty or innocent? The world may never know. I believe she was innocent from the 6 books that I read. And the 2 reports that I have also read on this. And I'm not kidding, I actually read 3 books of the trial. I bought one of them. It's an interesting read. The Civil War, this is the backstory of this. We all know that John Wilkes Booth killed Lincoln in the Ford Theater. Why he killed Lincoln, the General Lee surrendered at Appomattox. He thought that the slate needed to be clean. The South surrendered, which means the South lost everything. Booth promised his mother that he would not fight, but he was a strong supporter of slavery. There was actually 2 kidnapping events that Booth tried. He had several supporters in that, but as the attempts to kidnap Lincoln failed, he lost his supporters. Here's one of them. He was actually going to attempt to kidnap Lincoln in Ford's Theater and hold him for ransom. Once that lost, he didn't succeed. He started spending his own money to buy more supplies. The second one, he was on March the 20th, 1865. He was going to kidnap him when he was going to a soldier's house. He waited on the side of the road for a carriage, but the carriage came, but Lincoln was not in it. Lincoln's last speech. As you can see, Booth and several of his conspirators was at Lincoln's last speech. Here is his speech. This was on April 11th. 2 days earlier, Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox. This was whenever Booth heard of this speech, he went with his conspirators and he said this would be Lincoln's last farewell speech. I'm not going to read the speech because y'all can read it for yourselves. Booth went to Ford's Theater that night, and I guess he had enough. Grant was also supposed to be in the box with Lincoln, but when he got there, Grant was not there. He decided to kill Lincoln there himself. George E.Surratt was supposed to kill Johnson. Lewis Powell was supposed to kill the Secretary Stewart at his house. But he was thrown from a carriage, so he was not up, he was in bed. These are the conspirators. This is Booth. The short thing about him, he was a Confederate conspirator. This is Powell. He was a POW. That's one reason why he hated the Union so bad. David Harold, he knew the facility and he knew the town well. He was supposed to be their lookout and a guide. E.Surratt was supposed to kill Vice President Johnson, but he got scared and he stayed at the bar and stayed drunk. Mudd was the doctor that fixed Booth's leg. They tried him, but they overturned his because they said he was just the doctor that fixed the leg. He had no plot in it. Spangler was there at Ford's Theater. All he did was hold Booth's horses. They overturned his stuff. Harold was in the plot to do the kidnapping, but whenever it started going awry, he got scared and he left. Mary Surratt, all she did was own the boarding houses where Boots and them was staying. Mary Surratt was arrested on April 17th. Her son, John Jr., was involved in the conspiracy. He fled to Canada. Actually, he fled to Canada 2 or 3 weeks earlier and was not even a part of the assassination attempt. This is John Jr. He was actually captured several months after her trial and execution. He was actually tried, and it was a hung jury, so he got to go free. Even though his mother was already dead. The first picture is actually the house, was the boarding house that they had, where they all stayed and plotted to kill him. They have turned that now into a museum. The second house was a small tavern and ranch house that they had on the outskirts of the town. This is the E.Surratt house where Mr. Lloyd, which is a key witness in the escape attempt, he had owned it from them. This is where the guns and the field glasses, which come into the trial much later on, and where the escaped Booth went to the night after he shot them, or shot Lincoln. This is what they charge her, where they charge her with the assassination attempt and plot and the escaping of Booth, Harold, and all the rest of them. This gets into the trial. They was worried because she was a woman. No woman in history had ever been tried or assassinated or killed by federal government before. As we all know, if we've studied any kind of history, it says we're supposed to be tried by civil. We're not supposed to be tried by military. We're also supposed to be tried by a jury of our peers. This was not. This was tried by military. People in the trial, they all changed their testimonies from what they told them to the night of to the actual trial. Mr. Lloyd was there. He said that she brought them guns and told them to get them ready. Mr. Welchman, he was there. He said that they spent months and months together plotting this, Mary and Booth. They would not put Mary on the stand. She could not even testify at her own trial, and they would not listen to anything that her lawyer had to say at all. The evidence was the shooting irons. There was 2 Sharps rifles that Mr. Lloyd had in his possessions. Field glasses, which was binoculars. The men stayed, which is Booth, E.Surratt, Powell, had all stayed at the boarding house. They claimed that she knew them all. I mean, anybody stays at anybody's house. I mean, come on. You gotta know them by name. You gonna know what they look like. I mean, you gonna let some stranger stay at your house and you don't know who they are? They said that she met with Mr. Lloyd and John Jr. was a part of Booth and that she lied. After the incident happened, Powell come to the house saying that he was there to do something for her. I mean, if you turn out the lights, somebody can walk to the back door and they say, "Hey, I'm here for you." Are you gonna know who they are? I mean, you know, that's just kind of what they play tricks. Her attorney, Mr. Aiken, Lloyd lied, point blank. You know, he said he told the Union soldiers the night that it happened that here's what happened. Nobody come through here, and then all of a sudden, the day that it happened, he said, "Okay, yes, someone come through here. Here's what happened." I mean, he lied on the stands. Her daughter, you know, point blank told him that Mr. Welchman brought E.Surratt to Booth. You know, many of the people, the townsfolk there, told the guys doing the trial, the Union soldiers, that she wasn't one side or the other, that she had hosted guys, had Union people stay at her house, had fed Union soldiers in and out, but they try to make it out that she was just flat out Confederate, that she hated the Union, she hated what had happened, you know, because the Confederacy had died, which wasn't so. People will testify that Lloyd was drunk, and he was very drunk the day that it had happened. Mr. Aikman found that Welchman had tried to be a Confederate spy, and he couldn't be trusted, and he was a Union snitch. In the trial, that they actually had come to find out that he had went to Richmond to join the Confederacy for a couple of the high lieutenants that was doing the trial, and when he brought that out, the chairperson stopped him and almost put him in contempt of court right then and there. And they stopped and adjourned for the day. Most likely, some of the historians said that she had cataracts in both eyes. She had poor vision. They didn't want to hear about that. He proved that Lloyd and Welchman were not good witnesses, but nothing that he said the chairperson wouldn't listen to, and they found him in contempt. This was a military trial. Nothing they would say, they would listen to him. They wanted to show that it was federal power and the one union. The trial was against the law set up by the government. This was very important. That 5 out of the 9 did not want to hang her. They actually asked President Johnson to put her in prison for life. I've actually got articles printed out from the book that said that they looked at it, and one of the members from his cabinet actually threw it in the trash because he didn't really care. And a fun fact that I did find out, that Booth's diary came up missing. When it resurfaced, 43 pages come up missing, and the FBI used the 43 pages to impeach Johnson. This was a confession made by Jacob A. Walter, which was her father, and it just pretty much says that if you knew anything about Catholic faith, you would know that she made a confession to him that they wouldn't hold in court. Neither he couldn't even make it himself because of the religion and the faith. President Johnson would not meet with him. He tried to meet with him to confess it to him publicly or to one-on-one, and he would not do it. Pretty much it states that she was innocent, and this is some more stuff that I found. These are about 20 pictures that I'm not going to show y'all. And these are some videos that I really found enjoyable. I do want to play this one. It's quick video.
What is it, Senator? I wish to request an adjournment. An adjournment? We just got here. My client has been in custody for a month, wasn't allowed to contact counsel until yesterday.
General Hunter, a delay will only serve to prolong the nation's sorrow.
My learned colleague, you've had over 4 weeks to prepare your case, no doubt assisted by the entire War Department. I believe the defendant is entitled to equal consideration.
Senator Johnson, our fellow citizens must be permitted to put this tragedy to rest. The sooner we dispose of this matter, the better, for everyone.
Everyone but my client.
Judge Advocate Holt, please proceed.
In that case, I move for termination.
Termination?
On the grounds this trial is unconstitutional. The defendant is a civilian entitled to a public trial before a jury of her peers.
The Attorney General has affirmed the legitimacy of this proceeding.
Has he furnished a verdict as well?
Senator, you will mind the horror which summons us.
Indeed, we all mourn the loss of our leader. But in our grief, let us not betray our veterans and partake in an inquisition.
Inquisition? It sounds to me like we have the enemy among us. Maryland not being among our most loyal of states during the war.
That was pretty much the whole battle that they fought the whole time. They didn't want to listen to anything that they had to say that was against the Union and against their beliefs at all. So,